Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's just a few minutes over the time, so we're going to get started really quickly. So I'm going to switch over to my quick presentation just to give you a sense of the agenda and to give you I won't bore you with a lot of stuff, but just to give you a quick sense of what we're going to see today and why it's relevant, and then we'll go to build something interesting. So I'm going to go to full screen here, and just basically I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the agenda. The first thing we're going to talk about is why this session. Why would someone want to build their own Google Analytics at all, and why we think that's starting to make sense more now than ever. The next thing we'll see is a quick intro to Tinybird in case of someone that doesn't know us. That's only going to be a couple of minutes just to show you what Tinybird is and what is it good for. And then after that, we are going to go and create that basic Google Analytics alternative, alternative or let's say complement to Google Analytics in 5 minutes or less. And then we will do some things to make it privacy first and talk a little bit about what are the sort of things you need to bear into account to be GDPR compliant and above all, keep people's privacy in mind. And then we're going to add some custom events, because obviously one of the key things, as you'll see, about using Tinybird is that it gives you full control of what you want to do with the data. And once we have this running, you'll see how we can customize it to add our own events that are relevant for an e-commerce example that we're going to show you. And then if we had some time, it would be really great to explore the data with BI, but probably this is going to be for another session. So this is just the agenda. So does that sound good, Elena? Am I missing something here?
No, it's perfect.
Okay, great. So let's go directly into it. Let's see. Just give me 1 second here, because I want to have something here that I can use as a reference. Okay, so going back to the presentation. So why do it yourself Google Analytics? So the first reason that this makes a lot of sense is because of privacy and privacy regulations, and in order to sort of take GDPR and privacy into your own hands. Like what we're seeing in Europe especially, and in Central Europe especially, is that some countries are starting to legislate against using Google Analytics for several reasons. I mean, Google Analytics is a great product. There's nothing wrong with it, but it has some problems when it comes to privacy. The first one being that it stores some of the data in Europe, outside of Europe, in the USA, which is against GDPR regulations. And then it also imposes, because of this GDPR regulation, why you have to set cookies and ask for consent, and in a very strict way. And that leads us to some of the other reasons that come after this, which is the latency as well. Latency with Google Analytics is basically, it's not meant for real time. You can get data pretty quickly up and running, but if you then want to do something with that data, depending on the size of your property and the agreement that you have with Google Analytics, to then actually do something with the data is maybe 24 hours away or 36 hours away. So it really doesn't let you do much in terms of real time and figuring out what's going on with your users in real time beyond what you see in Google Analytics. And the problem with also what you see in Google Analytics is that you're not seeing the complete picture, mainly for two reasons. The first one is the user's consent, because Google Analytics uses third-party cookies. People need to consent, and because it falls squarely within a marketing type of use case, what we're seeing is there's a huge percentage of users that are not providing consent in order to use third-party cookies, and that means that you lose a lot of the data that you could be, a lot of the usage in your website that you could be seeing. And we've seen statistics that basically goes up to 70 or 75% of the data that you're not capturing, or the events that you're not capturing in many cases. But it's not just about that. It's also about the fact that Google Analytics, like many other analytics providers, sample the data. So when you're capturing the data, you're not seeing the full picture. You're just seeing like a sampled version of it. So again, if you then want to do something with the data, it's not as straightforward as doing it with the entirety of your data, and you're losing something there. And then finally, control, which is obviously one of the great things about having analytics anywhere, is being able to extract your own insights in the way that are relevant to your business, potentially join the data with other sources of data that you might be capturing, maybe information about your product, information about whatever you're selling, or the type of plans, if you're a SaaS, or things like that, that you can then use to have a much better better insights, or more deep insights about what's happening with your website. So those are the four reasons: privacy concerns, latency. You want to have the data as soon as possible if you want to be able to act over it. Completeness. You want to have the best possible picture in order to be able to draw the right conclusions. And then control is you want to be able to do as much as possible with the data. So for all of these reasons, even if Google Analytics sorts their problems with regulations and GDPR and where the data is stored and all of those things, it still makes a lot of sense to be able to have all of these things in order to exploit your data much better. So that's about Tinybird. I'm not seeing the questions, so if anyone wants questions, has any questions about that, very happy to answer them as we go along. And also, we've written a blog post in Tinybird, which we'll share as well in the links, that is about not just all of these things I just went through, but also some of the things you should keep in mind if you're building a privacy-first analytics, and in order to stay away from trouble with the law. By the way, any of the advice that we give you here, you should check with a lawyer. This is you need to bear in mind that GDPR is a minefield. Is not the most straightforward law. There's a lot of corner cases and sort of room for interpretation. So some people interpret it very strictly, and some people not so much. And there are some sort of room for maneuvering there. And we'll explain some of these things as we go along today. But you should also consider going to our blog and read that if you're interested on the specifics. So with that, Elena, hopefully that wasn't. Now I see your face again, and I'm glad to see you're not asleep. So now I'm going to tell you very quickly about Tinybird in case you don't know anything about us. So Tinybird essentially is you can think of it as a serverless database built for developers, such that you can throw data at it and build things like you would with any other software project, using APIs and using SQL. So you can exploit that data in a serverless fashion without having to worry about infrastructure or anything like that. So we help you build applications and APIs very quickly over large amounts of data. So let me show you a quick example of that. Here's this is just to show you that what you'll see later today, which is one use case for Tinybird, is just that one use case for Tinybird, which is super interesting, but you can use it for many other things as well. This is one of Tinybird's the Tinybird dashboard, basically, that you see when you sign up and start working. I'm working in an example workspace called HFI Events, and I have a data source here that's receiving some data in real time. This is the data that's coming in, and I can see here, that over the last 30 minutes is receiving about 500 rows per minute or something like that. And then as soon as the data hits these data sources, you can build things with pipes. And I'm going to go straight to one simple pipe that I have here. And a pipe is almost like a SQL, like a Jupyter notebook type of construct where you can build things in batches or in blocks, let's say, without necessarily having to write super long queries that are difficult to maintain. In this case, what I'm doing here is I'm selecting data from the events demo data source that we saw earlier that's receiving data. And I'm just adding some basic filtering here just to show the point. If I run this query, you'll see that I can very quickly see the results. And then I created another node here that is doing an aggregation over the filter data. This is this node over here. So you can chain these queries very easily. I'm going to call this hits. If I run it again, you can see that we're seeing in per browser and per type of event how many hits we're getting every 5 minutes. So now I'm going to actually do an order by T descending, so that you see in order of date descending. And now let's say we wanted to build something with this. The only thing I have to do is create an API endpoint, select the output node, and bam, celebration, because now we have an API that you can go ahead and integrate in your website directly. You have observability over that API, and you can see it in different formats, and you can add parameters. You can do a bunch of things. We'll talk about this later in more detail, but just for this to sink in, I'll show you that I can just copy that URL here and refresh.
Jorge, could you please zoom in a little bit to make it a bit bigger?
I think so. There you go.
Yeah, perfect.
So I can refresh this URL, and you see the events are changing because there's more data coming in every second, basically, and you can build APIs very easily over this data. So this is just the quick intro about the types of things and how Tinybird looks and the kinds of things that you can do very quickly. We're going to now go to what we came here for, and essentially this is we're going to show you our starter kit to build a Google Analytics alternative or complement. And what you'll see is that this starter kit, what it is an open source project that is almost like a template that allows you to have something akin to Google Analytics very, very quickly, and that then you can extend and complement as much as you want. You'll see there's only 3 simple steps that Elena is now going to walk us through. So I'm going to switch over to you, Elena, and you can take it from here.
Perfect. Yeah, so as Jorge said, this is a starter kit that we have prepared so you can have like a privacy-first project in your own Tinybird account to start right away creating or like adding events from your website or from your web application. And this is the main site. And from the main site, we can go to the repository. But let me explain very quickly what we are going to be doing here. So we have decided to use the ECommerce project from Vercel, which is a project built in Next.js. And this is a template that you can deploy directly from Vercel, so you don't have to build anything, just create it and then download the repository and the code. So what we are going to do is to add custom events in this website. I mean, the events showing the page visits, and then we are going to add also custom events over it. So as I said, and as Jorge said, we have published a repository in GitHub that has everything you need to start doing it. And I haven't prepared any specific slides because everything is super well explained here. So you don't only need to go through the README, and all the details, all the source code is here. I'm going to explain you the different parts of the README as well. So if you go to GitHub, you can already take a look to it. So first of all, what we are going to do is to set up the data project. And we are going to create automatically a workspace as the one that Jorge just shown you, but this one with all the events set up. Actually, you can do it manually, but what we wanted to show you is how easy it is to create it automatically. So I'm going to call it Commerce Demo. And as you can see, you can it's already selected the Web Analytics Starter Kit here. So what we are going to see is that once we get into the workspace, we're going to see all the analytics and all the endpoints that we need and all the data sources that we need. Of course, this is empty right now, but we can see that this is the main data source that is going to receive all the data, and it already has the configuration, the columns, and everything that it needs to start receiving the events. So Jorge already told you about the structure. So here, we can see the pipes, and in here we can see the endpoints that have already been created. I'm not going to go very deep into the details about the endpoints, but basically they already include custom parameters that you can use to filter the data that you have. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So another important thing here is what I'm going to do first of all is to add Jorge as a user and invite him to the workspace, because this one is new.
And now you can all see my email and spam me with any question that you may have.
Exactly.
Thank you. One thing, Elena, that I think is worth also showing maybe is the data flow, just to show the
exactly
of the project.
Yeah, I was going to show it. Yeah, as I said, this is like the first or the entry point data source, and from it, the rest of the materialized views and basically the data flows into the different use cases that you need to end up in the endpoints that you will need to consume. Those endpoints are specifically created for analytics dashboard that we also offer in the platform. We are going to go through this later on. And from this starting point, you can start adding your own endpoints. Another thing that I wanted to show you, which is needed for the next steps, is the tokens. So in this case, the important tokens that we need to use are the dashboard token and the tracker token. Just very quickly, the token is the way of authenticating against Tinybird. And one of the greatest things of these tokens is that you can add specific permissions to them. So in this case, I have a dashboard token, which is the one that I'm going to use for the analytics dashboard. But this token only has read access for the endpoints that the dashboard is going to be using. So it is safer, and you can control the data and the resources that are being consumed by a token. So that's pretty useful. So what I'm going to do right now is, this is I'm going to go again to the starter kit, to the README, and what we are going to do is to add the main script that we need to start sending events from our website. So actually, this snippet is here. So when you create the dashboard you can simply copy the snippet, but in any case, it's also, I mean, all the information about the snippet and the parameters and everything that it needs is in here. But yeah, we try to do it as simple as possible. So this is the e-commerce project, the one that you create directly with Vercel. And this is the main head section of that is going to be inserted in all the website and all the pages. So we only need to copy paste here the script. And yeah, here it is, the code. So it's going to be refreshed. So if we go to the website and start like going to different pages, and then we go back here, we're going to see how the first page hit events have been added to the workspace that we have just created.
Yeah, so just to stop here for a second, very as simple as that, just similar to how you would set up something like Google Analytics, in the sense that you copy a script and you paste it over. The main difference is that you now have the data right there to exploit right away without any delay, basically, and do with it whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see like how the events are being inserted in real time, which is pretty cool. And
one comment that I'm going to be adding a sort of a few comments as we go around sort of GDPR and privacy concerns and so on. So you see a session ID there. That is a randomized session ID that has nothing to do with nothing, basically. It has nothing to do with the users, not associated to any known user of your website or anything like that. It is designed so that you can track users, as in how much, is this visit from the same user as this other visit, but you don't know who they are, or you can't track them in other websites or anything like that. So that's one of the key things to bear in mind if you want to be sort of privacy first, is whatever session ID you're using should have no relation whatsoever to any other user information that you may have on your website.
Yeah, exactly. And the code to generate this session ID is in the repository, so there is no dark magic behind the scenes. So it is what it is. So yeah, this is a very good point, Jorge. Yeah. So what I wanted to show you now is I mentioned that we already have a built-in dashboard for the analytics of your website, and this one is explained in here, so you can just go there, and it's going to ask you first of all for a token. So what we are going to do is to use the dashboard token that we have here, and we will be able to see here right now I don't have a lot of events, of course, because I just added it, but here we have the basic widgets that you need to start analyzing your events. And so you can have multiple websites and use the same page, but with the dashboard token of each workspace to have multiple websites, which is also pretty cool. And I wanted also to tell you, and we are going to see that. We're going to see that later on. But the code of this analytics dashboard is also in the repository. It is a Next.js project, and all the widgets are built atomically. So you can extend this dashboard and customize it if you want to change the styles or add custom widgets. So we will go also through that.
Yeah. So just to sort of reiterate that this is not a product that we're selling. It is just a starter kit as a example of something that adds value immediately, but it's a great example that how you can take advantage of Tinybird, but it's open source for anybody to extend or do whatever you want with it, basically.
Yeah. So the next thing that we wanted to do is to, this is one of the, it's like an optional step that you can do, which is to use Versal Edge middleware to actually track the event. So instead of using this script, to run this script in this middleware. So I don't know if you, Jorge, want to go a bit more through this after that, but right now, the middleware code is also in the repository. So it is in here, and you can also take a look at it and download it and modify it. But we also wanted to do it as simple as possible. So we have here deploy button that also allows you to directly deploy this on Versal and start using it in your application. So I already have it deployed, so I don't have to deploy it again. But here, the important thing is that when you deploy it, in this case, we are not sending the token like in the script itself. We need to add it as a private environment variable. So I'm going to add it here because I have another one. And yeah, this is the tracker one. To the token that we need to add to the middleware is the one that is going to, it's called tracker, and is the one that is going to be used for this. So yeah, I'm going to save it, and now I need to deploy it again.
So while you deploy that, essentially what we're trying to achieve here is, obviously, if you put the Tinybird script tag, data is going to be going straight to Tinybird. And the problem with that is, first, you could, it becomes almost like a third party, although we're not setting a tinybird.co cookie, but still you want your events to go straight to your domain, wherever you're hosting the application. And Versal allows us to do this very well. You could obviously replicate this functionality with some server-side code, in whatever language that you're using. And a very key thing as well is that it enables us to create a session cookie that only lasts for the duration of the session, 30 minutes or the duration of the session, and whatever comes first. And then with that, there's no third-party cookies whatsoever. And this is something that we explained in that blog post that you're talking about, is if you're, depending on the country and depending on exactly the interpretation of GDPR and exactly what you're doing, consent for the cookie might be not required if you're only using a session ID that is used to basically to it's like a sort of essential to the website, basically. So that's another advantage of doing that.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm doing here now is to use the this middleware that we have just deployed in the e-commerce application instead of the other script. So now, yeah, I'm going to add it. And yeah, and just by that, it's going to be deployed directly in Versal. So if we take a look, yeah, here it is. So we need to wait until it is deployed to start using it.
Yeah. So once this is deployed, we're going to share with you guys the URL in the chat, so you can go to the e-commerce and browse a little bit around, and that it's going to allow us to see again how more events are coming into the dashboard, and we can look at the effect of it. So right now there's probably no more events because we haven't been using it, but as soon as this is finished, is that already finished? Is that already deployed?
It's almost there, I think. Let me check it. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay, so if you can refresh a little bit or search, go for different products and so on, we can see if we're getting some new events. Yeah. There you go. So So if probably someone has shared the the URL already, so that's great. So we can see top sources, YouTube, Vercel, Google, etc. So pretty cool. All right. So I think, Elena, now the next step here is to customize the events.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we are going to do like a very, very simple example for these e-commerce applications, which is to add a custom event. So when you're searching a product, this search is going to be registered as a new event. So in order to do this in this e-commerce application, what we are going to do is in this piece of the code, which is like the search bar component, what we are going to do is to add here like a very basic event, this is also explained in the repository. So basically what we do is to use the Tinybird object, and we click on track. We use the track event function. We then set the name of the event that we want to do. In this case, it's going to be really simple. We are going to use set search. And here in the Q variable, we have the value that the user has entered in. So let's put it just like this. I'm going to add here, because I need to skip this linter to be able to deploy it. And yeah, let's add it now. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. So yeah, it's gonna take us another minute to be while it's being deployed. So yeah, I mean, as I said, let me show you very quickly the custom event section. Yeah, here is we explain how to do that. In this case, the example that we have is an add to cart event, and as you can see, you can set the parameters as you want as the payload.
Yeah. So I'm gonna change to my screen now, so that we can basically now build the API endpoints. I'm gonna make this a bit bigger.
Okay.
Is that better? That's too much, I think. Okay. So if while Elena deploys that, pretty soon we'll start seeing here events that instead of action page hit will have action search. So I'm going to create a pipe. I'm going to call it top search. And from here, I'm going to see if I get these action is not equal page hit. Let me just see if I see them coming. Okay, so I have a couple of search events here. And then I can see Tinybird sweater. That's what people want. People these days want Tinybird sweaters. They can't get enough of them. So we can already see some search events coming. This is how powerful this is. I mean, immediately you can be getting a sense of what's going on. So I'm going to now go ahead, and what we want to see is basically top 10 searches. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look just for the events, the search events. And then what I will have to do is, because the actual payload comes in a JSON, I have to use a function called JSON struct string. So I will use it here. I'm going to say JSON struct string, and I'm going to extract it from the field payload, and the string that I'm interested in is the value, and I'm going to call this value. And then I also will count these as hits. And if we do this, I have made a mistake, which is, oh yeah. So I'm filtering here where action equals search, but I have to group by because we're doing a count. So I'm going to group by value. And I'm going to, so I'll just do this first. Okay, so we have different values and hits, and I'm ordering by hits descending, and I'm going to limit. I'm going to limit to 10. So you can see young people also look to say happy birthday to old people like myself. It's my birthday today. So thank you, whoever is saying happy birthday to me. So there you go. Now we have a top search that gives us the 10 most searched for terms. And all we have to do now is turn this into an API endpoint. So I will do that right now. And Elena, if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to use that already to integrate it in the dashboard, right?
Yeah, what we need to do first is to add the endpoint to the token, to the dashboard token, so we can start using it. Yeah.
Totally right. So I'm going to go to the tokens. I'm going to go to dashboard, and I'm going to add the pipe scope here. So I'm going to say that I'm interested in the top search, just weed. And now top search is one of these endpoints that we can use from the dashboard. So I'm just going to save, and you should be ready to go.
Yes, perfect. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen right now, because what we are going to do is to show the new, this new endpoint that Jorge has just added. We're going to show you how you can add a custom widget to display the top searches. So I'm not going to go like very deep into the details of this, but basically what I have here is a pull request modifying the dashboard code with this is a pull request to my own dashboard that I've it's on a different repository that I created to deploy it to my own Vercel account. And what I did here is to add a new search widget that I created, which has the same structure than this searches widget. So it's pretty easy to create your own widget. And one of the things that I also did here was to change the theme, or like the colors of the dashboard. Like we have prepared it with different values that you can customize. So you can build something like with your own touch. So I have this one here deployed in my local environment, and as you can see, well, we have already here like that Felicidades Jorge is like the most searched item in our dashboard. And we can also see that that the colors have changed, that we have 19 current visitors. And we can, I don't know if this one has any change. Yeah, it is, this one is already deployed. So what I did here was to just deploy a custom dashboard, as I said, and you can access to it. I mean, you would need a token, a custom token to use it. But yeah, it is so easy to just deploy my own modification.
One thing this is basically the gist of what we wanted to show today, as in, hey, so easy to deploy this starter kit to Tinybird, to start using the dashboard to get analytics sort of out of the gate, and then how to customize it, how to take advantage of the data. One of the things we can show also is, obviously, we're doing this with just a few events and people browsing around, but as this scales, and this is where Tinybird shines, Tinybird can scale with you. And we have customers that are using their own analytics over their website at the tune of hundreds of millions of events per day. So one of the things we can do is this top search we have implemented, which is like a very naive approach. We can do a better version that it's always going to be fast, basically. It doesn't matter what you throw at it. So you want, do you want to go ahead and do it directly, Elena?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do it, we can
No. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so what we can do here is I'm going to duplicate this pipe first, and what I'm going to do in this case, I'm gonna change the name very quickly. Okay. So what I'm going to do is to remove the limits, and we actually don't need it right now. And we are going to just create search. We're going to rename the node. And what we are going to do is to just create a materialized view from the UI. So it already has all the settings that we need. So we don't have to do anything, just click on next. And what I'm going to do is to include the previous data in the data source that I'm going to create.
So just to explain, if someone not very familiar with with materialized views, what we're doing here is creating a always up-to-date top 10 table that we can query directly. So instead of having to query all the data to extract the top 10, what we're doing is keeping the top 10 table already generated, and it gets generated incrementally as new data comes in. And that means that when you're actually querying the data, you're only querying 10 rows. So it's always going to be able to scale no matter how much data you are ingesting. So what Elena is doing right now is creating the endpoint over that materialized view. But as you can see, it takes less than 1 millisecond to read the table.
Yeah, exactly. What I did here was to create a new endpoint by using directly this new materialized view that we have created that already has the data aggregated. So as Jorge said, as the data enters in, we aggregate it, and when you access to it, it's way faster. So I'm going to add it as well now to the endpoint, to the token scope. Here it is. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, if we now...
Did you save?
Good question. Yeah. Thank you. Well, maybe since I went back and forth, I'm going to just add it again just in case.
Yeah, I think it's already there, yeah.
Okay, it is. Perfect. So yeah, if we go now to the analytics side and refresh it, it's going to be using this new endpoint, and it is exactly the same information, but in this case is requesting the data that is already aggregated.
So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing the insights you derive from these things. Like Tinybird underwear is the second most searched item in our store, Elena.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, I think one thing also we're not gonna have time to do it today, and probably we'll do another session on this. But another interesting thing, apart from now being able to create new use cases for this data that you're collecting, you can also use BI to connect to this data and build your own dashboards. So we have a BI connector you can use to connect to the workspaces. Another interesting thing also is that you can share, for instance, let's say that someone in you're on e-commerce and someone is in some other team is very particularly interested in what are people searching for, so that they can use that information for something else. It's very easy to create a different workspace, but share the top searches materialized view that we just created with that other workspace. So some team can access that information separately from whatever you're doing here, and keep separate projects to do this and exploit the data in many different ways. So it's very flexible and very powerful to quickly derive information from this and build applications on top.
Yeah, we got a question about, if I'm not mistaken, about how can you fork the dashboard project and deploy it wherever you want to. So basically, in the Web Analytics Starter Kit, there are different directories, and one of them is the dashboard. So if you go to the dashboard, this is an entire project itself. So you can download the code, and even like here you have all the instructions that you need to start developing it if you want to. So that's what we meant by forking the project. I don't know if I answered this question.
Any more questions? What do I want for my birthday? I'm happy that you asked. No, I'm just kidding. So just to if you want, I can go back to my yeah. That this is
Sure.
of course. You can use whatever UI you want. Like the UI we show there is just an example. Take it or leave it. It doesn't matter. We use it because, you know, if you're building analytics, I think it helps to just see data out of the gate. But you can build whatever you want. You don't have to use our dashboard. You can use whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm showing here the one of the endpoints. So you only have to like use these endpoints with the code or like with the UI that you want to. And this is one of the things that also Jorge was mentioning before, that we didn't have time for it to prepare, but maybe we can do it like in a separate session, which is like using your own BI tool or any tool of your choice to start showing the data right away from these endpoints.
In fact, Elena, if you click on Share Docs at the top right,
Yeah.
and then use the dashboard link, the dashboard one. Use that one, copy that, and go to another tab. So what you see here, and go to available endpoints at the top, back to available endpoints. So these are essentially all of the endpoints. This is documentation, self-generated documentation of all of the API endpoints that you have access with this particular token. So essentially, the idea about this is so that you can share this with your team or whoever's implementing, and then whether they have access to Tinybird or not, just with this page, they should be able to start implementing and create different things. In our top search, we didn't bother adding like start and end date. But if you go to any of the other ones, like top devices, for instance, if you click on it, Elena, on the actual link.
Yeah. You mean that? Yeah.
No, I meant the endpoint. But so if you click there, you see that there's available parameters that you can pass in to the endpoint. You can also specify the limit, and that'll return different things. So you can integrate it however you want, and you can add more parameters and filters, whatever you want. This is just a starter kit, as in, hey, here's something to inspire you to go do whatever you want. And we've tried to do it as much as possible to be GDPR sort of privacy friendly and keep sort of privacy in mind from the beginning. So Joan is asking, what if I want to track events individually? So what we're showing in the dashboard is aggregated views, but actually you can do any query that you want over those events. So if you wanted to, for instance, some people use this to build logs explorers, like a dashboard that will allow you to search for a specific events that are happening. So you can do that as well. In general, if you're using it in a public website, although all the events we track are privatized, anonymized by default, in the sense that it's anonymous and randomized ID. We've focused on the aggregated side of it, but once you have the data, you can query it directly or expose specific events or build alerts on top of things if people are finding certain limits, things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So yeah, I think if I'm going to change back to my slides, and basically just as a way to finish, I just wanted to sort of recap. We've gone through, why build your GA, quick intro to Tinybird, which now you're already seeing. And more questions? Endpoint, and then you pull some tables from it. No, you can't right now. We are working on adding connectors to multiple data warehouses. We now have it's not exposed in the dashboard, but we can enable it for you to Snowflake and to BigQuery, and but Redshift is next. So in any case, we can help you if you wanted to do that. We've done that many times. It's pretty straightforward to build a script that does that repeatedly. In fact, we have we wrote a long time ago a blog that's exactly about that. It's called Postgres. It was not with Redshift, but with Postgres. I'm not finding it, but anyway, essentially how to extract data from Postgres continuously and send it to Tinybird through our endpoints, such that you can keep all that data coming in and then build low latency applications on top. But right now we don't have a direct connector to Redshift. We can help you out, Daniel, if you want, in how to guide you through how to build a simple script to extract that information.
Yeah.
Cool. And basically just finishing this. So we've seen how to add it to an e-commerce example website from Brazil, but it can be added to any website, and how to add a custom event. And we haven't had time to show the BI. We'll do this in a separate session. But essentially, this was to highlight that, hey, once the data's in there, you can exploit it in many different ways, whether it is you use our dashboard or not. Our dashboard is just an example of how to take advantage of it. And yeah, I encourage you guys to go to the Starter Kits / Web Analytics page and check out the video here and the tutorial. And any questions that you have, let me remind you that we have a Slack community that you can join, and you can have also, you can email us at support@tinybird.co if you have any questions. And yeah, would love to get some feedback and people using this to track many things or to instrument their applications and build on top of Tinybird.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that you can start using it right now, as you can use our free accounts, and as it says in the website, you have like 1,000 requests per day. So this is something that you can start testing right now with no cost.
Exactly. All right, and I think that's the end of it. It's just top of the hour right now, so I think we can stop here. Thank you, Elena, for doing that so quickly and so easily, and thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye bye.